one. Boom. And we are live. I am joined by Darnell Smith from Fox Sports. Speak for yourself. He was a ball player. Also live for today, LFTclothingbrand.com. You're a man of many titles. Thank you for coming on.
Yes, sir, man. It's an honor and pleasure to be a part of the podcast, Max, man. And yeah, it's great to finally meet you through camera.
Yes, sir. I know I'm a huge fan of yours and your work through Fox Sports, through Speak for Yourself, but it's really weird. I don't know if you get this. So I cover the Orlando Magic. I've covered the draft on SUV TV in Atlanta. So I'm starting to get this. I've been on the radio. I've done play-by-play for boxing and MMA. So I've come across a lot of different personalities now. I've interviewed a lot of players. And one thing I could tell immediately when I meet people is like passion. And when I watch you and I watch your work, how you talk, you have a lot of passion. And I could tell you have an insane love for sports. So whenever I see that, I typically gravitate towards that right away. Is that something that you pick up as well?
Oh, yes, sir, man. Most definitely, man. When I meet someone, like they always say, first impression, like you can never get that back, right? So when I meet someone, like how serious they are about their craft, whether it's sports or whatever field that person is in. You can always tell how passionate, how much they love it, how serious they are about it. So you got that right about me. When it comes to sports, food, and working out, that's probably that's my triple threat. That's right there. So
right now I'm pretty much the same way. All I do is, I'm finishing up school. So other than school, it's really building my show, building my brand, networking, working. Got to pay the bills, and then it's literally working out. Now the food part, I eat a lot, but I'm having a hard time gaining weight. So like I drink a lot of protein. I can eat 5 meals a day, and it's like, man, I'm 6'2", about 185, and it's still so hard to just gain that 5 pounds.
I can help you. We can talk about this off air, but I can help you on the gaining weight tip, man. That's my specialty. Now losing weight, I might need to talk to you, but gaining weight, I'm your man.
Okay, well, you were a ball player, so Ball State, played football. You're still in great shape. Can you kind of walk me and my audience through your journey? So obviously you were an athlete. But now the way you've transitioned into the media game, Speak for Yourself, I feel like is such a perfect platform for you because of your personality. I think Speak for Yourself fits perfectly with you. And I think fit is such a huge thing. Situation is such a huge thing in any business or industry. Can you kind of walk us through your journey?
Yes, sir. So I've had a pretty unique journey, I would say. So like you said, kind of going back, I'm originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. So I'm a Midwest kid, born and raised. Played at Ball State, which is in Indiana, like 45 minutes north of Indianapolis. Had a good career, was an all-conference player, was a captain. When you're playing sports at the college level, 95% of all athletes think they're going to make it to the league. You know what I'm saying? So while I'm in college, my grades were always good. I never really had to, extremely focus there. I just was a good student. So my main focus was, I'm going to the NFL. Like I said, after having a really good junior year, winning all conference, captain, all this, I started getting a little bit of buzz, nothing too crazy. I was probably still going to be, if I had any chance, it would be probably an undrafted free agent type of route. But hey, there was some hope there. Unfortunately, had a bad knee injury going to my senior year, missed my entire senior year, was planning on coming back for a 5th year situation, and ended up getting DQ'd or disqualified, basically saying that my knee had lost a tremendous amount of cartilage, and they just said it just wouldn't make sense to come back. So I went from planning on going to the next level to, oh, man, this is my last semester of school. I'm about to graduate. I got to figure out the real world. And I've always had, like I said, good grades and stuff like that. But, honestly, my focus was football, 100%. I haven't really gave true thought to what I was going to do if football didn't work out. Right. So once I graduated, I was just hustling, just trying to figure out, what I want to do, or just to get a job, really. So ended up starting off, man, I got into a sales role. I was a recruiter for a really good firm, really, really great job in Indianapolis. And but it was a desk job, man, just sitting behind a desk on the phone, trying to get commission, that whole world. And man, after doing it every single day for almost 2 years, it's I'm just not happy. It's nothing against the job. It's just, for me, my personality, my energy, what I love to do, I just was not happy, man. And I was really missing sports tremendously. So oftentimes I would go home, just by myself and just write down everything I love just in general, whether it's It could be something completely random as if like going to the movies. Like anything that I enjoyed doing, I wrote that down on one side. Anything I didn't like, I wrote that down on the other side. And I started trying to map together like different possible career options that I could go into, just so my brain could open up. So going through all that, I still was struggling. Like, okay, what can I? Should I coach? Should I be a GA? And then I ended up, long story short, me and one of my teammates ended up starting our own podcast. It was called The Porch. It was something we did. It was a little bit about sports, but it was a lot about like black culture, hip hop, stuff like that. We did it for a few months, and ironically, so we're posting on social media, and Jason Whitlock, who was our previous host for Speak for Yourself, he's a guy who was a Ball State alum. He's from Indianapolis. Actually went to my same high school as well, which I didn't know till later on. But he followed me on Twitter, and he had saw that I was posting this podcast, and I was hosting my own show. So he randomly reached out to me like, "Hey, are you interested in sports production?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's up? Like, why? What are you talking about?" What I'm saying? Yeah. And he's like, "Well, an opportunity for my show, just came up for like a social media producer. There might be a chance for you. Fix your resume up, send it in, and just see what what can happen." So did all that, interviewed like 5 times, all on the phone because I'm in Indy and obviously Fox is out here in LA. Ended up getting the opportunity in 2018. I literally, man, I put my 2 weeks notice in, packed my bags. I left she's my now wife, but left my girlfriend at the time in Indianapolis, and I moved out here to LA by myself. Didn't have any furniture. I was laying down on the hardwood floor for like the first probably, month out here, just trying to figure stuff out and just grinding, man. So started off just as a social media producer, just predominantly producing content, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And then one day they called me into a meeting with some of the producers of the show and said, "Hey, we're trying to add a new segment to the show, a more millennial vibe, and we would love for you to be on the show and kind of have your own segment. Would you be interested?" And like my heart's probably beating fast. I'm probably nervous, but at the same time, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm interested. Like this is why I came out here for just stuff like that, possibilities like this. So that happened, man. And I just kind of hit the ball rolling. We had Darnell's question of the day. We had antisocial, and as you're a fan of the show, it's just a time for me to be myself, bring the hottest topics from social media onto the show. And I remember looking back, my very first show, man, I was nervous as hell. I think Whitlock told me one thing. He was like, "Hey, no matter what happens, be confident. So whether you fumble your words, whatever the case may be, just be yourself and be confident." And I kind of took that, ran with it, and as time went, man, it became like I got so close with the guys that it became like, man, like I wasn't even on TV. It's like it's like me and you right now. We're just talking.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it's at, man. Since then, the ball's been rolling, and other opportunities have came outside of Fox, and I've just been trying to grow my brand just like you.
That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. And obviously I'm not on Fox Sports, but I can relate in a way where it's just so you can't put a value on relationships. It is so priceless. Having all it takes is that one person to believe in you. And when you have the mindset that you have is just, I'm going to put in the work. That's not the question. It's just I need an opportunity for someone to take me in and give me that opportunity. I'll put in the work. That's amazing. And like I said, your personality fits with what the show's brand is so well. It's like you go hand in hand, and it's like peanut butter and jelly. It just works.
Yeah, man. No, it made perfect sense, man. Like just the guys, the vibe of like, Marcellus, and even now, our new co-host with Emmanuel Acho. It's still very fun, positive energy. And again, even though I didn't make it to the NFL, I always think from like a player's mindset, because like I'm not a journalist. I didn't go to school for journalism or communication. I got a marketing degree, a business degree. So like I didn't even go to school for this. So like it was never in my head that like, hey, when I get done playing football, I'm going to go to TV. And I had no idea, Max, I was doing that. You know what I mean? So I'm a spiritual person too, and I'm not trying to get all spiritual, but I'm a man of faith and prayer, and I believe in prayer, and
absolutely
the combination of prayer and hard work and putting it together, and I believe opportunities happen. And I just think my journey is just a perfect testimony of that, man. Because like I said, I literally asked anybody I know. I had no idea I was going to be in LA at any point in my life. the funny thing is, I have one of my close friends played football with. He's from LA, lives out here. I had visited LA, was it 2018 in February for All-Star Weekend, just to turn up, have a good time.
Yeah.
And then literally months later, all this happens, and I get the job, I get the call, interview, I move out here. It's like, what the hell? I had no idea this happened. So
yeah,
it's crazy, man, how things work.
That's incredible. When Shad brought me up and I got to meet, we're going to get into this. So I listen to Colin Cowherd every day. I listen to all these different podcasts and I'm like, okay, I like that. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take this. I'm going to take that. And it's just, why would I not consume information that's right there for me? And so when I got to go out there, I'm like, this is Colin Cowherd. And like for other people, it's LeBron. Now I'm a LeBron guy, but for other people, be like, oh my God, this is LeBron. But like Colin Cowherd's my LeBron. And so when I was, this is Colin Cowherd right now. Like, this is what I'm trying to strive to be like, someone at the top of the field and meeting Robin, meeting Chris. So it was like, I knew immediately it's what I wanted to do. And so when he took me out there and I was like, first experience, every once in a while, like you meet like an idol, but when you actually meet them, it's like, oh man, they're not who I thought. But it was the exact opposite. When I was there, like, oh, this is what I want. Like, this is me right here. So I knew right away because I always talked a lot in class, and I would always get in trouble. I would get good grades, but I'd always get in trouble talking.
Me too.
Yeah. So I knew I was going to do something with talking, and I love sports. So I want to ask you this though. So right now, so 2020 was the year of adapting, right? The early adapters win, which is unpredictable. And now we're into 2021. The way we consume information is so different now. Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, it took away from a lot of cable companies. It's just a new wave going in. You see Colin Cowherd just started The Volume, the Colin Cowherd Podcast Network. He's an early adapter. Yeah. Do you like the direction that sports media is heading in?
Personally, yes, I do. Digital media is taking over. Like, it's like you said, every podcast is growing tremendously. Even at Fox, we're seeing like our Speak for Yourself podcast or any of the other shows, their podcast numbers are just going up. And with us, being millennials, we're all about instant gratification and just like, I want it now. You know what I'm saying? So digital media typically is more short form, more accessible. You can listen to it on the road, in the car, whatever. So I think that's why it's starting to grow so much. And the reason why I love it is because it gives everyone an opportunity to eat, like it gives you an opportunity to build your brand and make some noise without necessarily getting that big backing from a Fox or an ESPN or you know what I mean? So where back in the days, it's like, man, you had to work at Fox or had to work at ESPN to even get your name out there. But now with social media, the internet, digital media, and the way things are turning, if you're good at what you do, man, there's a way to become a big name in this industry. And maybe you do end up at Fox or ESPN, but you can end up there going a complete different route than what you had to go to back in the days.
Yeah, and I think the power of having all these different resources and technology, to your point, is just allowing everyone to blossom and flourish. Like, it's a lot easier to spot talent. Now, granted, there's a lot of podcasts, but for example, my podcast, when I went out there, like Chris Broussard followed me and actually listened to the show, and I had no idea. I knew he followed me on social media, but I'm like, it goes to show you never know who's listening. And so I wouldn't have had an opportunity if I was born way before, where you had to write for an X amount of years. You had to be in this an X amount of years, to your point. So I'm definitely a fan of the direction that everything is heading in. But I want to get to you now that I have your time. I want to ask you some NBA questions. I know you're a football guy, but obviously you have plenty of knowledge, plethora of knowledge in the NBA.
I love basketball, man. That's my first love. I stopped growing at a certain age, so I was like, basketball probably won't work.
Yeah, I was a sharpshooter, and then once I realized that there was someone 6'8" and shot better than me, I'm like, I'm probably gonna have to get into talking. So,
right.
So I want to ask you this. So my bachelor's is in business, so obviously my AS degree is in broadcasting, but I'm a huge business guy. Like, I'm just really intrigued with stock. So I find so many different ways to bring people who don't necessarily follow this or understand it. How can I get you to understand this? So I've compared NBA players to Marvel characters, LeBron to Thanos. I've did NBA rap, compared Lil Baby to Zion. Like, this is what I do. But so I'm going to start off with the Dallas Mavericks. I would invest and buy a lot of stock in the Dallas Mavericks. And here's why. They check the coach. They check the owner. They check the superstar. and they haven't been a free agent destination yet, but I believe they will be. I believe it's like the Hawks, but I think it's the Dallas Mavericks are the team of the future. The Lakers are the team right now. In the future, I'm buying stock in Dallas. I think Cuban will be aggressive. I don't know if he gets a Beal or a Levine, but I think they will land someone eventually. Are you buying that?
I am buying that, man. I think you hit the nail right on the head, man. Great coach, great ownership. Luka Doncic, man, he's a monster. And he's young. Like, people keep forgetting he's a baby. Yeah. And the guy is already one of the top, arguably top 10, top 5, depending how you rate your list, best players in the league right now. And like you said, man, they're maybe one other player, one star away from like really taking off. So I'm definitely buying that stock for every reason you just listed. And yeah, man, that's a destination to where if I'm an NBA player in a bad situation, just like Bradley Beal, for example, that's the team where I'm definitely keeping my eye on, because it's like, man, if I go there and join that organization, they already have a strong foundation in play. I come in, now we're in the talks for a championship in the ring. So I'm buying that stock.
All right, I like it. I had a feeling you would. Now, the thing that's unique about them is that Luka, because he played overseas, I feel like he's a lot more mature than a lot of other younger players. So it's like he has the self-awareness that typically you don't see in a year 3 type of player. But my question for you, you've traveled around the country, you've been to different places. Why isn't Dallas a free agent destination? Why hasn't it been yet? There's no state tax. Like I said, you have the great owner, you have the good coach. What were they missing? Why haven't they been able to land that guy?
Yeah, I know that's a great question, and I don't know. Dallas isn't like a super small market like a Cleveland or anything like that, but it's not LA. It's not right. New York. It's not, when you think about the most historical franchises of all time. You think about the Boston Celtics. You think about the Philadelphia 76ers or even the Bulls. So it just historically in the NBA, it was never like that franchise, and then the fact that it's not like a huge market. It's a big market, don't get me wrong, but it's not a huge market. Then you put those things together, and it's like, man, it just hasn't been that destination. Now, I will say, when Dirk Nowitzki was still playing, now they didn't get too many mega stars, but they got a lot of really good players who wanted to join those teams. The Jason Terrys, the guys like that. Vince Carter was even on the team for a little while. Yeah. Jason Kidd, and so they were able to get some names during that time. So I do think at some point here in the next couple years, maybe not mega stars, but really good players who you could consider an all-star star will probably start joining that franchise.
Right, and I just started to think too when you were talking, player mobility has been around. Like, I'm not going to act like old players didn't go to different teams. Scottie Pippen ended up on different teams. Like, we've seen it before, but I feel like player mobility really started to get generated after you had the big 3 in Boston with Braun, like having like that number 1 guy to move. And when he did move, he was already going at it with Dallas. So maybe Dallas just hasn't had that opportunity yet. They had Dirk, and now they were kind of I wouldn't say a bad team, but they weren't like a marquee team. Now they finally are starting to get that momentum. We may see that. It's funny you mentioned Vince Carter. I'm from Daytona Beach. It's right where he's from. He went to Mainland High School. And during his camp, they're like, can you name how many different teams he's been on? And just made me think, because you talked about him being on the Mavs. He's been on a lot of teams.
A lot of teams.
Yeah, he's been on a lot of I forgot he was even on Dallas at one point. I want to ask you this. I want to transition to Zion. Now, I said I did Marvel characters. So I've done like LeBron as Thanos. I don't know if you're familiar with Marvel. I've compared Zion to The Thing, where he's one of the most entertaining characters in Marvel, but we haven't really seen it yet. And I've said this young Pelicans group is like the Fantastic Four when they had Drew Holiday at the moment. Right. I think maybe the coaching just doesn't know how to manipulate them in the right way yet, where we're going to see them flourish, but it is still early. But my question to you is this. It's not the Pelicans' potential, it's Zion's potential. I think LeBron's the best player in the league. I think Luka may be the next face, but is Zion going to be the number 1 watch? Right now, I think Giannis is like the most entertaining when it comes to dominance and force and physicality. Will Zion catapult Giannis as the number 1 watch?
Ooh, that's a good question right there. Man, Zion's been looking pretty good this year. I will say that, first of all. And you talk about dominance. Yeah, I know Giannis is a monster, but Zion's like right there, man. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say yes. I do think Zion will surpass Giannis because man, he plays that bully ball like no other. To me, the only thing that's limiting Zion is that he's only like 6'6", 6'7", you know what I mean, on a good day. Where Giannis is 6'11", 7 foot. So that length just changes everything. But man, I seen Zion the other day. Who were they playing?
Rudy Gobert bullied him.
Rudy Gobert. And Rudy Gobert is 7 foot, super tall, bullied him, almost made him fall and just finish like easily. And Zion is another guy who's a kid basically in terms of his age, and he's already doing it. Year two, fourth youngest All-Star. And the thing about Zion too, what was the biggest question? It was his health. He hasn't missed a game yet. Hasn't missed the game, man. And the difference between him and even Giannis, I know Zion, he isn't a great shooter, but I think he's shown more flashes of his his shot making ability than even Giannis has already. You know, it's more of a set shot, you know what I mean? But he's capable of making that 3-point shot. He's capable of shooting outside of the paint if need be. Giannis, we'll see. You know, he's showing some flashes, but I'm not all the way in on Giannis yet. So I just think overall, from a fan's perspective, I think Zion will surpass Giannis, at least in terms of just watching him and the excitement surrounded around him. Right. He has this aura. My guy Rashad would say this magnetism. It's like whenever he's playing, and he had this at Duke, it's like, all right, I have to watch him play. Like, yes. My grandma knew immediately this guy's different. Like, I always call her up. She lives out of state, and she's just a huge sports fan. She's like, who's this guy at number one at Duke? And I'm like, okay, yeah, he's just different. He just hops off the screen. Couple things I want to touch base with you is we're on the topic with the Milwaukee Bucks. Before we get into Brooklyn, before we get all these different teams, I've compared them to George Foreman. So I'm a boxing guy too. Okay. It's like, that left hook is coming. It's Giannis. But there's not many players to this team. There's not. We know if you expect the role players to do more than their role, they get bent out of shape. And so often you see the wall form to stop Giannis. Yeah. I haven't ever been sold on the Bucks. I've covered them. I've interviewed Giannis. I'm a fan of – this isn't an attack on him. I'm just saying them as a team, I'm not impressed with them, and I don't think this is a good Bucks team this year. Are you? It depends on what you define as being sold. So let me say this. I do think the Bucks are a great team. I think they're one of the best teams in the NBA. I do think that they are a legit threat on the East. But do I realistically think that they're going to make it to the finals? No, I don't. And it's only because, like you said, the last 2 years, I mean, you have to look at history to learn about present time and what's going to happen in the future. And to this point, and I love Giannis as well, but to this point, he hasn't shown us in the playoffs that his playing style can be effective and be effective enough to win games. You know, they put this wall up, and it's like role players going to step up. Giannis can't consistently make that outside shot, or he just can't penetrate through that wall to play the normal bully ball that he plays now. So until I can see that in a playoff series, there's no way that I can just confidently say, hey, I think they're going to do it. Especially with that Brooklyn Nets team out there looking like some monsters right now. So so sold as a great team, sure, but not sold enough to where they're going to win it all. Right. Now, you don't have to win a championship to be a great player. I think Giannis is going to be a great player, whether he ever wins one or not. I know we often have this narrative, he never won a ring. Charles Barkley is an amazing player. Like, he never won a championship. Steve Nash is an amazing player, never won a championship. If he doesn't win one, I'm not going to be like, that guy's not good. But my thing is this. Wherever a player decides to go, I'm pro mobility. Like, if he wanted to stay in not Giannis, you want to stay in Milwaukee, like, I support that. But I think that decision to not leave ultimately may cost him some legacy points, because I don't think he ever won a championship in Milwaukee. Yeah, man, and that's the tough decision that players today have to be able to make, because it's like damn if you do, damn if you don't. So like if you stay and you don't win, then you will you'll be considered a great player, but you'll never be considered you'll never be considered the greatest player of all time. You'll never be in that argument if you don't at least get one ring. Charles Barkley's never been in that argument. Reggie Miller never been in that argument. You know, we can go on and on. But then if he leaves, and let's say he joins an already established team, you know, a la KD to Golden State, now we're saying, you're soft, you know, you're not tough. Back in my days, we would have stayed together. So it's like, It's like, what do you want me to do?
Right.
It's
Draymond
like,
said it perfectly. Draymond's like, look, so you guys can trade us whenever you want, but when we decide to do something, you take the James Harden way, you take the Paul George way, you take the KD way, you take the Braun way. A player's never done it correctly. Like we get upset no matter which route that they take. You look at Kawhi,
Right.
doesn't say a thing and goes to a completely different team that we didn't think was going to come. To your point, I want to ask. Okay, so you brought up Brooklyn. And you mentioned the history of the game. So you stole the words right out of my mouth. I look at the game in three ways. It's like analytics. You have to pay respect to the numbers.
Yep.
But there's also the eye test. Not everything shows up in the stats. You look at the picture. Why would you take that picture out? Because the analytics say so, but you shouldn't have done it. And then you look at the history of the game. You can learn where you're trying to go from where you've been. We've never seen a big three like this work before, where your number one player is the one who's not controlling the ball the most. Like in Miami, Braun had the ball. Golden State was a motion offense, so it's a little bit different. But we've never seen this before. So I'm convinced that they'll go to the finals off pure talent, but I don't think they win a championship because of lack of depth, size, and what the history of the game tells me. Do you think they could win a championship this year?
Do I think they can? Yes. Do I think they will? No.
Okay.
So based off pure talent alone, it's like KD, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. Like, just think about that. You got two former MVPs, and Kyrie Irving is an MVP type of talent. Made arguably the biggest shot in the NBA Finals history, one could argue, or at least one of.
Yeah.
And you got all three of these guys on the same team. The main argument coming into this was what you said, like no one has ever seen this type of talent come together, right? And actually work. Too many egos, too many whatever. But on a short sample size, we've seen it work. Now, granted, I know KD has been out a little bit, and there's been a couple games here and there. But even when they've all three played together, they've still looked good. So I do think just talent alone, and the fact that they're out east, I think the East is a little easier than the West right now. It's getting better though. I do think that they will at least make it to the finals, and I think they can win. But I'm still sold that as long as AD comes back healthy, I don't see anyone beating the Lakers right now.
All right, you and I are on the same page there. I had a bet with Rob Parker. He had to give me 40 wings. I'm like, the Lakers are going to win it. And I said it last year. And he said the Clippers. I'm like, I'm telling you right now, the Lakers are going to win it. So now I've already put in my prediction since the beginning of last season. I was like, the Lakers are going to repeat it. And I still feel that way.
Hey, man, real quick.
Yeah.
When it comes to Rob Parker, that man loves his wings. It don't matter what. He's out every week. I feel like he's eating some brand new wings from somewhere.
Yeah, and he's like very notorious for saving money. He always gets good deals.
Yep.
Always. I'm gonna have to be on that wave, especially if I try to go out to LA, because I know living out there is a little bit more expensive than Florida.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Darnell Smith from Fox Sports. Speak for yourself. Live for today. LFTclothingbrand.com. I appreciate your time. What do you have coming up? What's next for you?
Yes, sir, man. So I'm working on some things outside of Fox right now. I'm actually producing a digital show. I can't give out too much right now yet, but
okay.
we shot the pilot already. We're shooting some more content at the end of March. So just keep your eyes open for late summer, early fall for some things to get released. Outside of that, like I said, constantly working on my clothing line business, trying to get that boosted out. And man, I'm just grinding here at Fox every day. Here soon in the next month or so, they'll be adding me to the SFY podcast. So we'll be doing a weekly kind of little best of SFY throughout the week, where we'll take like the best 3 or 4 topics that Acho and Wiley discuss, and I'll jump in, give my takes on them. So that should be going probably April. We'll start that up. So I'm working right now, man. Busy, trying to get like you, Max. Trying to keep growing this brand and going from there.
Before I let you go, I have to ask, because you're a football guy. I'm pro quarterback. Like, you're the most valuable position in all of sports, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm a fan of Deshaun Watson saying, hey, you know what? I don't want to end up like Andrew Luck, where I'm not getting the help I need and I get banged up. It's not like basketball where you're just not getting help and you're dropping 30 and losing. Like, you can get hurt playing football. He wants help. Are you a fan of what Russell Wilson's doing? What Deshaun Watson's doing is taking that leverage, utilizing your leverage and saying, hey, this is what I want. This is what I need.
For the most part, yes. Like, for the most part, it's like, hey, this is a new age. And if you have power, you have influence, use it to get what you want. You know what I'm saying? Like, why not? These NFL owners do it. These NBA owners do it. All the higher ups, they do it. As a player, you're the one bringing money and value to the franchise. If you're not getting what you want, then yes, do it. Being devil's advocate, there's another side of me that's like, well, I'm good with that. But if you had a problem with the franchise, I don't like, should you have signed that long-term contract? So using Deshaun Watson as the example, and I'm a big Deshaun Watson fan.
Yeah.
I believe he just signed like the new contract like last year.
Yeah, not too long ago.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, was there huge differences in the Texans last year compared to this year? No, not really, and you still signed. So it's like if you thought it was going to be a huge problem in terms of personnel, or you just wasn't seeing the long-term vision, then listen, I know, get your money. I'm all about getting paid. But if winning is more important for you, and you don't see that winning culture there in Houston, then just don't sign then, and then be free to move around. Because now it's like, I don't like, yeah, he can keep talking and saying that he wants to move around and all that, but at the end of the day, Houston Texans have complete control. Like, if they don't want to trade him, they don't have to trade him. Like, there's nothing he can do about it. So now he's kind of in a bad position. So overall, I love it. Use your influence, use your power. But just try to move as efficient, as smart, as whatever as you can, just to make sure that you're not putting yourself in a tough predicament.
Right. Darnell, it's a pleasure to have you on. Whenever you want to come on the podcast, you're more than welcome. Thank you for your time. Before I let you go, where can people find you? Instagram, Twitter, where can they buy that shirt? The floor is yours.
Yes, sir. So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Darnell_Smith95. So that's Darnell, DARNE, 2 L's, _Smith95. And you can find this shirt and a multitude of others at LFT Clothing Brand. That's on Instagram, LFT Clothing Brand. And then, like you said, one more time, the website is LFTclothingbrand.com. We are an active and lifestyle brand for men and women. We have leggings, shirts, crop hoodies, regular hoodies, joggers, you name it. Check us out. We love your support.
I'm definitely going to be texting you. I'm going to get a shirt. But Darnell, I appreciate your time. Until next time, we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir, man. It's been a pleasure. Have a good one.